Hey everybody, I hope you're having a great day. Before we get started with today's video, I want to thank everybody. We're at 19,000 subscribers, and as of me making this video, we're about 10 shy of 19,100, so thank you guys so much. This channel's growth is just shocking me every single day. I also want to remind you that you can become a member to the channel right here for just 99 cents. Starting January 1st of 2023, the MVP, VIP, and Pro versions of memberships are going to go away, and all those perks will transfer over to the 99-cent eBuzz Central member. It's a great way to support the channel you like, and also a great way to support content you like. Now, having said that, I want to send a quick shout out to my newest members, Cameron Bosch and Scott Hughes. Thank you guys so much for becoming members to the channel, and thank you so much for believing in the channel enough to support it. Now, as we close in on the end of the year, and if you watch any of my videos, you all know I love KDE. That's my go-to desktop. But Gnome has really stepped it up this year. I think the changes they've made make it easier for your workflow, and it makes it easier to use. And I would say, other than being able to customize it like crazy, Gnome is definitely a competitive desktop to KDE. Now, I was sitting around today and I was thinking, out of all these videos, I covered Gnome, I covered KDE, but which three distributions actually utilized Gnome to its best? And I thought, you know what? I'm going to go back, kind of revisit some things. So this is my opinion on the three best distributions that utilize Gnome the best in 2022. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go over to the nobaraproject.org. And when you come over here, it tells you right off the bat, we recommend using Balena Etcher to burn the ISO to a USB. Now, I'm going to use something different. It always works for me, and I'll show you that here in a second. But I want to go over a couple things here real quick of what they talk about on the website. Now, if any of you are familiar with Nobara, or even if you haven't heard of it, the main developer is Glorious Eggroll. Now, he's a member of the Red Hat team. He's a member of the Lutris team, and I believe the Proton team. So this system's going to have a lot of things injected into it that are going to help with gaming or content creation. Now, having said that, these things aren't just for the gamers or for the content creators. What this is going to do is give you an overall easier setup of a Fedora type distribution. Now, what do I mean by that? A lot of the things that you have to do after you do a fresh install of Fedora are already done for you. It's more of a plug and play and just go and use the distro, as opposed to, okay, now I've installed it. I've got an hour's worth of things that I need to do to it to get it to where I need it to be. You don't have to worry about this one. You just install it, download your applications, and you're ready to go. And that's what people are wanting nowadays in the Linux community. There are a lot of new people that come over and say, I just want something that's easy to use out of the box. That's why you have so many people that love MX Linux or Pop OS. They just plug it in, go, and they're ready. Now, what Nobara does is takes a Fedora installation and makes it as easy as a Linux Mint or, say, a Pop OS. Now, you've got three different versions you can get from their website. One is the official, one is Gnome, and one is KDE. Now, the official is basically Gnome, but it's been pre-enabled with extensions for a different cosmetic look. Then you have the Gnome environment, then you have the KDE environment. And you can come down here and you can download the official right here, or you can download Gnome here, or you can get KDE right here. Now, one of the things I want to go over with you real quick is on this page right here. I just want you to go up and click the icon up beside Nobara Project. When you click on that, it'll tell you what is the Nobara Project. And it tells you the site is a work in progress and gives you a little bit of information right here that I suggest you read over. But when you come down here, it kind of lets you know what is different about this distribution as opposed to just a regular Fedora. It lets you know that kernel's patched with cherry-picked Zen patches. It's patched with OpenRGB. It's patched with AMD CPCC. Kernel is also patched to enable AMD GPU for pre-Polaris cards by default instead of Radeon. Kernel's patched with Steam Deck support. The kernel is configured with Ashman, Bender, and Android support for Waydroid. Kernels patch with Windows Surface support. Mesa Git is provided for AMD and Intel drivers. glibc's patch with Clone 3 disabled. DNF fast mirror is automatically enabled, so you don't have to do that. Gnome variable refresh rate patches added for Mutter. Gnome Mutter, Wayland, and X11 fractional scalings enabled by default. Gnome shells patched. GameScope version regularly updated. It just does a lot of things right here out of the box that you as a user don't have to worry about. NVIDIA cards, NVIDIA GPU detection and driver auto installation. SDL2 has been patched to fix an NVIDIA frame rate issue. And please be aware that only NVIDIA GPUs that work with driver version 515 or newer are compatible. Blender's installed out of the box. DaVinci Resolve. Dependencies are installed. It works easily on a fresh install. So if you install this freshly, go download DaVinci Resolve. You'll be able to use it right out of the box. But do remember, there's no H.264 or H.265 support on the free version of DaVinci on Linux. So when you do render something, it's going to come out in a humongous size format. You can also go over to FFmpeg if you need to and change that up. OBS is installed out of the box. Wine is included in the installation. Has Proton Up QT included in the installation. Discord, Flatpaks are enabled by default in the installation. Nautilus, it's got the classic type ahead functionality restored. This allows you to start typing and it'll take you to the file that's closest to the name that you're typing. Button for toggling between breadcrumb navigation and text navigation. A workaround added to fix not being able to drag and drop. RPM Fusion repos are enabled out of the box. If you're not familiar with RPM Fusion, if you're an Arch user, it's a lot like the AUR. It gives you packages that aren't available in the official repositories. Steam is included in the installation. Lutris, Mango HUD, Go Overlay, and GameScope are included in the installation. Kdenlive, should you be doing any kind of video editing, is included in the installation. Now, this is a change. LibreOffice is no longer included. It's OnlyOffice included in the installation. Now, if you don't like OnlyOffice, it's easy to go over and uninstall it and install LibreOffice. Cups for printer support is installed. VaporSynth, FFMS2 is included. And down here, it lets you know that RPM Fusion packages basically what I just told you. And then you come down to the bottom and it says the Nobara AppStream repository contains packages which would otherwise be available in RPM Fusion free or non-free repositories. So they've taken their own little repository, put these applications in it because it's been modified and patched to work smoother and better on Nobara. So those would include Blender, OBS Studio GStreamer, Discord, Telegram, and MPV. Now we scroll back up to the top. Now what you will notice is if you go over to download and click on download, you can come over here. If you're in Europe, you would use the EU mirror, and if you're in North America, you would use the download mirror here. When you click that, it will pop up an end user license agreement. Now this isn't something that says that they're going to be taking information from you. This is basically letting you know this is a hobby distribution. It is not to be used in production environments. But everybody that I know that is using it is enjoying it freely, and it really works well for them. You understand all Nobara specific packages and code modifications have been created by the end user individuals. You understand that this distribution is not to be considered a Fedora spin. It is completely independent from the Fedora project. By downloading, installing, and using this distribution, you agree that Nobara, Fedora, Red Hat, RPM Fusion, and Copper related developers are not responsible for any kind of damage. And then it comes down and lets you know about the free repository, non-repository, but it doesn't say anything in here about any kind of data collection. Basically what it's saying is, hey, you as an end user, this is a hobby distribution that we're putting together. It's not supported by Fedora. You're using it at your own risk. So once you say, I agree, it'll start downloading. And then if you disagree, it will not download. So I'm going to click disagree so we can back out. So that right there would get the download started for you. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to close out of this. And a few little housekeeping details if you're going to leave your present distribution and go to Nobara. What you'll want to do is come down here, whatever applications that you use the most and you're going to need, I would make a list of those. Write them down. So that way you know when you get Nobara installed that you have to install those applications. Next thing I would do is get a USB if you have one handy. and go ahead, and any documents or downloads or music or pictures or videos that you need to transfer over to your new installation, you can back those up on a USB and have those safe so you don't lose any of that information. Now, I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. And now let's say you've already downloaded Nabara. You're going to burn it to a USB. Now I'm actually using a Arch-based distribution, and what I used was OpenSUSE Studio. But you could go up to your software provider. Let's say you go to Octopi and you go to ImageWriter. Once that's open, you'd put in something like ImageWriter, and there's my ImageWriter right there. You would click on that. It shows that it's already installed, which is what I'm using. But just find the ImageWriter of your choice. If you're on Windows, you can use Balena Etcher. It's awesome. It's beautiful. It makes things real easy to do. But once you have that USB burned, once you have all your information and documentation backed up on a USB drive, and you've made that decision to switch to Nabara, what you'll have to do is go find your boot key, boot menu key for either your laptop or your desktop PC. Now that'll be F12, F2, escape. It just depends, so that when you do put the USB in and you restart your system, you press that key, and when it brings up the boot menu, you would pick the USB. Now, once you do that, you will get a screen that looks something like this. Now, what I'm doing at present is I'm doing this in a Gnome boxes for the simple fact I don't have screen capture. I just want to show you what you're going to be seeing. You're going to get this screen that says Start Nabara 36, Test This Media, or Troubleshooting. So what you want to do is hit Start and let that boot up. Now, once it's booted up, you'll be met with this screen right here, and I'm English and United States, so I'll go ahead and click Continue. And it will come over here, and it will say System, User Settings, User Creation, Automatic Partitioning Selected. Let's go ahead and click on that, and we're going to pick this right here. This will have your hard drive. Yours will be a lot bigger than 20 gigabytes because I am in Gnome boxes. So we've selected that. You'll click Done, and when you come back to the screen, the little yellow flag will be gone. Come over to root account, user settings. You'll want to go ahead and enable a root account. Go ahead and put in your password. And click done. And then everything is done over here. So what you can do now is click on begin an installation. Now, when you begin the installation, it will actually install it. You will actually put your username and everything in after it is installed. What we're going to do right now is we've made it this far. I'm going to go ahead and install this on my hardware. And the only thing that I'm going to use when I get done rebooting is OBS Studio, which is already installed. And we will go over the next steps of things you need to do after you install Nabara. Well, now that we have it installed, and let me go ahead and say this, there were some things I couldn't cover on camera. And that was basically the username setup, password setup, and then whether you wanted to have location services or automatic reporting of issues with your install. Now, you can set those however you want them. I turned them all off and just set up my username and password. Once you're at this point, you've got one thing you need to do right off the bat, and that's to update your system. Now, you can do this one of two ways. You can go over to your software center. So let's go ahead and open that up. And you can go over here to updates, and it'll say system updates and iBus M17N. Now, what you can do here is if you would rather do it by command line, you can open up your terminal and you can type in sudo dnf upgrade. Now, you have two availabilities here. You've got sudo dnf upgrade or update. Update basically sends you to upgrade. So just use upgrade. It does the same exact thing if you want it to. The fast mirrors are already installed. So you've got two different ways you can update or upgrade your system. I'm going to go ahead and do it from command line, but you can do it right here from the software center. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter and put in my password. And the updating will begin. Now, in previous videos, I have set here to let you know that I'm not doing any tricks with the camera to show you everything is being installed, but I'm going to go ahead and let this run its course, and when it's done, I'll be back with you. Okay, we're getting close to it being finished. It's doing some cleanup after the install of the updates. And right now, it's running the kernel core 5.19.9 201F sync, and it is complete. So the next thing you're going to want to do is restart your system. Now, seeing how we updated from command line. You don't want to hit restart and update here. Just close that out. Now, if you do update from here, all you have to do is hit restart and it'll restart and update your system. So let's close out of this. And I'm going to go ahead and come up here and click power off. And once it restarts, I will be back with you. Okay, so everything is installed and we're updated, upgraded. And as you can tell down here, I've already pinned some of the programs that I'm going to use to the dock. Now, one thing I do want to do, I do not like having to hit the super key to get to my dock. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and open this up, and I'm going to find Extension Manager. We're going to go ahead and open that up, and I want to browse. And what I'm going to look for is Dash to Dock. And we'll bring that up. Now, what I'm going to want to do is use the Dash to Dock for Cosmic. One of the reasons I use it over the other ones, this one seems to be less buggy. So I'm going to go ahead and click Install, and we're going to install that real quick. And there it pops right up. And then I'm going to go ahead and go back to installed. And as you can see, I've already adjusted the size of my icons down a little bit because out of the box, they come as 48. And as you can see, when I close this, they're kind of big for me. I like having them a little smaller. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of that. And let's go ahead and open it back up. And let's go to settings. They're on 48. I'm going to run those down probably about there and close it. It makes it a little smaller because I'm going to be pinning a lot of things down here and I just don't want this whole area down here to be taken up. But what it will do is once you maximize, it will disappear unless you hover back down over it. But like I said, make sure you get the Dash to Dock that is for Cosmic. Now I'm going to go ahead and close out of that. And I've already uninstalled some applications that I won't be using like Blender, Lutris, things like that. It's real easy to do. All you got to do is go to the Software Center, bring this up, and it'll bring up your installed applications. You just find applications here that you're not going to use, go over and click uninstall, and then you'll be good to go. And just kind of clean your system up. Make it yours. That's what this is all about. Customizing this operating system to make it yours. And in choosing my daily driver, I have used Fedora and Manjaro Gnome desktops in the past. But I wanted to use one that I thought out of the box was going to be easy for me to use. And I'm not going to be on it too long because I do have to tell you, I've got some big news coming to the channel. I'm trying to work partnerships right now with some open source hardware to bring you information on it. Things like the Marina phone, Tuxedo computers. I've got some things in the pipeline, and hopefully within the next 2 weeks, I'll be able to bring you a lot of content that covers some great open source alternatives. But what I've settled on is I'm going to give Garuda Gnome a shot. One of the things I hear most out of people about Garuda is they would love to try the KDE version of it, but they really don't like the way it looks. They don't like the icons. They don't like the backgrounds. They just don't like all the color. That's what I hear most of the time about it. Or it's bloated. Something along those lines. Well, when you go with Garuda Gnome, it doesn't have the icon set that you have on Dragonized, and it's a little bit more subdued. As a matter of fact, I've already downloaded it and installed it, so let's zip on over to the desktop. And as you can currently see, I'm booted up into the desktop. The only thing I have running in the background is OBS. Now, I was really impressed. Without OBS running, this distro idles between 700 and 800 megabytes of resource usage, which is, in my opinion, good for me. Some people want to be around 200 or 300s. I can deal with 700 or 800, especially for somebody that has seen what these people have to deal with Windows 11 just to be on. 3 to 4 gigabytes just to be on a desktop. That's ridiculous. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and let's click on the screen here. I've only downloaded one extension, which is the Dash to Dock, and I've got a lot of my applications already downloaded and ready to go. I still have Fire Dragon down here. I've got Firefox. I've got Files, OnlyOffice, Boxes, VirtualBox, OBS Studio, of course, is running. Kdenlive to do my editing. Screenshot, GIMP, Inkscape, Terminal. Let's see what it's running with just OBS running in the background. HTOP. And with OBS running in the background, it's about 1.57 gigs of the 8 gigabytes I have on this machine. It's just my old IdeaPad. That's what I do most of my creating on. And a lot of people come up in my comments and go, you're doing all of this and you've only got 8 gigabytes of RAM? Why? The whole point of this channel is to show you you don't need something huge. You don't need something overspec'd just to put Linux on it and create and do things. I run businesses. I create videos for my YouTube channel. Are they as perfect as somebody that's using, $5,000-$6,000 worth of hardware? No, but it works for me. And most of the viewers out there agree that they like the videos that I produce. And if you don't, please give me some suggestions in the comments below. I am open. I am completely open for criticism. Now I'm going to go ahead and close out of the terminal. Now, one thing I do like is when you boot into it, you get the Garuda welcome screen just like you do on KDE. You've got your Garuda Assistant, your Garuda Gamer. Now, if you open the Garuda Assistant, let's open that up real quick. You've got a lot of tools here that you can use right out of the box. You've got your system update, refresh mirrors, key rings, remove orphan files, clear packages. Now, here's what I really like about this setup. Let's say you go in and you change some config files on an application and you make a mistake. We've all done it, especially if we're in Linux, we've done it. And you've got to get that app back, and you don't want to have to go through the pain of uninstalling, reinstalling, hoping the config files are not there anymore. Just come down here and pick the application. Pick it, or if you want to reset them all, just click all, hit the reset selected configs, and it wipes everything out and goes back to the default, and you're good to go. Now, you've also got BTRFS and Snapper, system components, settings, system specs, and other diagnostics you can use from here. I'm going to go ahead and close out of that. And then you've got Garuda Gamer. This is where you want to come if you want to set up all your gaming stuff. You've got your Steam, whether it be runtime or native, Heroic Games Launcher, Lutris, Bottles, Wine Tricks, Boxtron, Fast Game, SC Controller. What else you got down through here? VLC, Streamlink, Twitch, Graphic User Interface, Xbox Generic Controller. You can get all the drivers and everything for your Xbox. And then your games you can get here. And then, of course, you can get your emulators over here. If you're somebody like me, you like retro gaming, you probably got old Wii games around, or maybe GameCube, PlayStation 2. You can come over here and get all the emulators you need right here. And it goes all the way back to Atari. So that's really nice to have. Let's close out of that and close out of that. And then your settings manager, Garuda boot options, add and remove software. Let's go ahead and click on that, which is your PayMac. Now, before you use this, the first thing I would suggest, if you download Garuda Gnome and you want to put it on a machine or you want to try it in a virtual box, you want to come up here, go to your preferences, of course. You're going to have to put your password in, hit enter, and it's going to bring up this screen. What you want to do is go to third party and enable AUR support. Now, AUR is going to be a lot more stable on Garuda than it is on something like Manjaro. Because with Garuda, you're using a newer kernel. Packages aren't held back like Manjaro does. So when you're using the AR, it's going to be a smoother operation. Now, if you are using Manjaro, you probably ran into problems when you downloaded an application from AUR, because those packages are held back and everything's back just a little bit. You might have some dependency issues there. Also, keep an eye on Manjaro too, because they've been having a lot of issues with their SSL certificates lately. They have problems and they'll send messages out saying, here's a way to bypass it, as opposed to just taking the 5 minutes it takes to update your security certificates. I don't know why Manjaro has such an issue with this. If you don't believe me, go look it up. It's consistent and it's a problem. Now, that's not bashing Manjaro. That's just speaking facts and speaking truth. And then you go over to General, and you can come down here and you've got downloads. You can adjust your parallel downloads, number of versions of each packages to keep, things like that, etc. I just freshly updated this, so there won't be any updates available. And the update went smooth, flawless, no issues at all. And I'm getting around in Gnome rather splendidly. And as you can see, I'm actually up to date. The system's up to date. And I do want to point out with my most recent update, we now are on Gnome 43. Now, one of the things I like about Gnome 43 is a lot of the things that you need to access, you can access over here quickly. Airplane mode, your Wi-Fi, you got the little arrow out here, you're balanced. If you wanted to change the performance of your computer, you can go to Performance, or you can go to Power Saver right here with the click of a button without having to go into the settings. And then another thing right here, you've got your speaker right here. We can click on that. You can adjust this. Where do you want it? Speakers, headphones, digital output, sound settings. We can close back out of that. You can also do that with your microphone. You can use your internal microphone, digital input, but I'm using my external microphone right here. And night light, you can turn that on and off. And then of course you can switch from dark mode over to light mode, but I'm going to stay in dark mode. And then of course you can take a screenshot, access all settings from right here. Power's right here. If you wanted to take a screenshot, you just click on that, adjust it to where you want it, and then come down here, click, your screenshot has been taken. Now, I do want to say in the past, I've been relatively hard on Gnome and the desktop environment, but they are getting it together. It is a nice, smooth, and enjoyable desktop to work in. And I do believe multifunction wise and multitasking wise, it makes things rather easy. Now I'm going to go ahead and close out of this, and we're going to look over here. You've got partition manager, quick access, and then website, private bin, GitLab, chaotic AUR, IRC, Twitter, Discord, Telegram, forum. They really knock it out of the park with this little Garuda welcome. It makes things so easy. It really does. And what I really like after you, let's see if it'll open up. Let me go ahead and show you what we got here. After you install it, you've got the Garuda Setup Assistant. You click OK, and what it'll do is, let me put my password in. It'll make sure that everything's up to date, so we will let it do what it needs to do right here real quick, because it doesn't want you installing any applications on top of an outdated or non-updated system. So let it update the mirrors and let it do its quick update, and I'll show you what I like about this. Okay, it's starting full system upgrade. There's nothing to do. Let's press enter to exit. And it's going to check for NVIDIA drivers. It gives you the Garuda Setup Assistant. Let me maximize this so you can see it. After install and you restart your PC, it automatically brings a pop-up to update your system. Once you update your system, it asks you, do you want to run the Garuda Setup Assistant? So you run it. When you get here, it gives you OS preferences. Do you want to install additional Gnome applications? Printer, scanner, Samba support, install additional wallpapers. Do you need pen testing software? Then you can go to input. It gives you different fonts over here. Software centers. Do you want App Image Launcher? Do you want Octopi, PayMac, Discover, Gnome software? And then kernels. Linux LTS failsafe option. Linux hardened. You can install those. Office. It gives you an option to install LibreOffice, Joplin, OnlyOffice, WPS, Free, Yozo, Calligra, Scrooge. I mean, they give you all these. All you got to do is check mark them. And then your browsers, FireDragon, LibreWolf, Firefox, Chromium, Ungoogled Chromium, Vivaldi, email, communication, Telegram and Discord, internet, Qubit torrent for torrent downloads, audio. Do you want Strawberry Player, Lollipop, Audacious, Elisa, LMMS, video, Kdenlive, Drag and Shotcut, Pitavi, OpenShot, OBS. It gives you all of these options. So you go through here and check mark everything you want. Gnome boxes, VirtualBox, and other. Once you're done, you click OK. It installs everything. Now let me explain something to you. They have this available on the Dragonized version as well. I have never had an issue. Everything that you check mark and bring up to use, downloads, installs, up to date, and you don't have any problems, and it saves you so much time, because any Linux distro that I put in, the first thing I do is get it set up the way I want it, update it, and then spend time downloading all the applications I need. This takes some of that pain out. This takes and makes that job so much easier. So if you do download this and you do take a look at it and you've never used Garuda, check out the Garuda Setup Assistant. Now I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. Cancel. And it says you can restart the Setup Assistant at any time. Okay. And we will close out of that. And I'm going to go ahead and close out of the Garuda Welcome. I want to zip over real quick to Settings and go to the bottom. And we're going to go to About. And it lets you know Garuda. It's a rolling release 64-bit GNOME version 43 windowing system X11. X11 runs smoothly on GNOME 43. I haven't had any issues. I'm not going to go too deep into things up here. You do have your appearance settings right here. You can change from a dark to a light theme. And then, of course, all your backgrounds. And this is actually the background that comes out of the box, which I truly love. So I left it up there. And then notifications. multitasking. You got your regular Linux settings over here. So let's go ahead and open up our application launcher and show you some of the things it comes with out of the box. For email, you got Geary, you got BTRF Assistant, Celluloid, Extension Manager, you got your Gnome utilities, which is disks, image viewers, and then tweaks. You can open up tweaks. And right here, okay, let's continue. Couple settings right here you can adjust. The spin when the laptop lid is closed, over amplification, appearance. It shows you the themes that you're using for all of these. And on your lock screen, you can change that picture if you want to. That's truly up to you. Fonts, you can adjust fonts in here. Keyboard and mouse. Startup apps. Right now, we don't need that. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that, and then the Garuda Welcome will pop up. Now, if you don't want Garuda Welcome to pop up anymore on restarts, all you got to do is click remove here, and then you can always go over here and type in Garuda Welcome, and it'll show right there, and you're good to go. And then your Garuda Assistant is already down here on your dock. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of that and come back over here. Then your top bar, you can have weekday on your calendar, which I do, date, seconds, and then you can have week numbers on your calendar. Right here, you've got your calendar. If you wanted it to show the week numbers, you just click that on, and then it would include week numbers right here, 49, 48, 47, and so on. I'm going to go ahead and shut that off. Window title bars, double click to maximize. Middle click, title bar buttons. If you don't want those other buttons there, you can, of course, shut those off. And then placement, you can have them on the right or on the left. That is really up to you. And then your windows. Attach modal dialog, center new windows, click to focus. You've got a lot of different things you can do inside of tweaks. So let me close out of that. Open this back up. What else did we miss over here? Logs, archive manager, we don't need that. Garuda Gamer, we went over. Garuda settings, Garuda system maintenance, gestures, lollipop. And then you've got MPV player. I use celluloid, but MPV player lies underneath that, so I just leave it there. Micro, Octopi, of course. Now, if you haven't used Octopi, it's not hard. A lot of people prefer something like a Paymac, but with Octopi, it's a lot like Synaptic Package Manager. It's a type search install application. So if you come up here and you were looking for something like, I'm trying to think of something that I don't have installed. Let's see if Kate's available. And it's right here. You would just come over here and click. And you would click install, and it would mark it for install. And it would let you know, here are the different things that you can get with those. And once you have those picked out, you just click OK. And then you would click this green check mark. It would install Kate for you. So this is just another way to get applications and software installed on Garuda. Let me go ahead and close. Yes, I really want to quit. Come back over. And then you've got Wi-Fi hotspot, YAD, suspend hibernate sound recorder. So it comes with a few different applications out of the box. Most of what you see down here I've installed. But that, guys, is really just a quick look at Gnome 43 and Garuda together. I think it's a winning combination. Like I said earlier, I'm a KDE man. I love KDE, but Gnome is making it so much easier to multitask. It's got form and function. You can get in, get your work done. It stays out of your way. It's got the regular files manager. You know, you got your usual suspects over here. You got your home folders right here. It's just a nice operating system, and the desktop environment has made leaps and bounds in the last 3 releases. And I suggest if you're somebody that hasn't touched Gnome in the last 12 to 18 months, download it. Give it a run. It is really impressive. It makes things really easy to do. Fedora editions are flagship offerings targeted at a particular market. With Fedora 37, they're adding 2 new editions. You've got the Fedora Core OS, which is basically the successor to the Atomic host, drawing from the Project Atomic and the original CoOS work, and Fedora Cloud is also back as an addition. The Cloud Working Group has seen a resurgence in activity, so they definitely want to bring it to people and bring it to the forefront. And then desktop improvements. Fedora Workstation focuses on the desktop experience. As usual, Fedora Workstations features the latest GNOME release. GNOME 43 includes a new device security panel. It also provides users with information about security of the hardware and firmware on the settings. Building on the previous release, more core GNOME apps have been ported to the latest version of the GTK toolkit. Also, with this release, they've made a few changes to allow you to slim down your installation a bit. They split the language packs from Firefox browser into sub-packages. This means you can remove the Firefox language packages if you don't need them localized. The runtime packages for gettext, the tools that help other packages produce multilingual text, are split into separate optional sub-packages as well. And of course, they produce more than just the additions. They got the Fedora Spins, Labs, they got the Fedora Comp Neuro, Fedora LXQT, which provides a lightweight desktop environment. And don't forget about their alternate architecture, which is the ARM, AArch64, Power, and S390X. Then there is definitely some system admin improvements that have been brought onto this. Fedora Server now produces a KVM disk image, to making running server in a virtual machine a lot easier. And then they do have a lot of other updates for the Raspberry Pi and such. But definitely what we want to do right now is just get to Fedora 37 and take a look at it. So let's zip on over to the desktop. Okay, so if you download Fedora, throw it on a USB or open it in a virtual machine, here's the screen you're met with. You can install it to your hard drive or try Fedora. I'm going to go ahead and click Try Fedora. Now right here, all you got to do is hit your super key, and that should bring everything up, and it sure does. And then there's your install to hard drive from right there. Now, first things we want to take a look at is this is Gnome 43. So we come up here, and you have the whole new area right here. You got your volume you can adjust right here. You've got your wired connections you can adjust right there. You don't have to go into settings to get to it. Balanced, you can set your power saver. Balanced, you can change that right here, and then of course dark mode and light mode can be changed right here. I'm going to go ahead and leave the dark mode because I do like the way that changes. Now I did hear that there were going to be some changes in the installer. Let me go ahead and pull it up because I'm not quite sure, but if there are changes, I want to go ahead and go over those real quick. And it still looks like pretty much the same installer we had before. So I'm going to go ahead and quit. I was told that we were going to have a different one, or maybe they're working on a different one. I don't know. I'm sorry about that. Do you want to quit? Yes, I do want to quit. We'll go ahead and get back out of that. Now, another thing I want to do is go ahead and come over here and let's see what they're sending us out of the box. We've got your regular weather, clocks, terminal. Let's go ahead and run terminal real quick because I want to see what kind of resources we're using. Let's double click on that and we will see if they have HTOP. They don't. Let's go with top, and then we'll make that bigger so everybody can see it. And we're using about 800 megabytes of the 2 gigabytes I have issued to this machine. So it's running normally and typically what you're going to get out of a GNOME desktop environment. Let's go ahead and close out of that. And close it. I do like the wallpapers. What else do they have? Let's go ahead and change the background and see what we do have over here. So other than the new one we have right here that we've already got up, they don't really, oh, they got a different one there too, don't they? Okay, I kind of like the look of that one. And then we got this one right here. They do have some pretty awesome looking wallpapers. I think I'll leave that one up. And while we're over here in settings, everybody is very familiar with these. You've got network, Bluetooth, appearance, notifications, search, applications, power. This is where you come to set up all of your pertinent settings for your distribution. And now let's go over here and go to About. And this is localhost live. Shows that we're using Fedora 37 workstation, Wayland desktop environment, GNOME version 43.0. So really everything that we already knew about this distribution. Let's go ahead and go over here. Let's go ahead and open this back up. You got maps, LibreOffice out of the box, videos, utilities. It comes with connections, disk usage analyzer, disks, logs, problem reporting. Let's go ahead and back out of that. Terminal we looked at, it comes with GNOME boxes. Software, let's go ahead and open up the Software Center. Enable third-party repositories, enable. And we want to go ahead and authenticate. Now, I do want to remind everybody, while the Software Center is refreshing itself, you're going to need to install, probably from RPM Fusion, the codecs that you're going to need to use things like H.264 and things like that, because they're no longer being shipped in Fedora in and of itself, for the simple fact that they want to avoid any lawsuits over patent infringement or copyright infringement. Either way, so that's something that you might want to look at, making sure you install the RPM Fusion repository. This should be populated here shortly, so give me just a second. Now, I know I am using this in a live environment, but one thing that does bug me about Fedora and Fedora-based distributions is the DNF seems horrendously slow. And maybe it's just me being mostly an Arch or Arch-based distro and spin user, that it seems like everything downloads quicker, everything refreshes quickly, and it just seems like DNF continues to be slow and sluggish. I know there are things you can go in command line and put in, and it supposedly speeds it up, but my time that I've spent on Fedora, even with using those tweaks, never seemed to speed it up. Now you guys can see this is the regular software center here. You've seen this across several different distributions, and it's pretty self-explanatory. You find an application, you click on it, and you can go over and install it. I could sit here and wait for this to populate and then continue my video, but as you can see, we're running into the same issues we always have. Now, I am going to have people in the comments go, well, you're in virtual machines, so you're going to have issues with that. I never seem to have it on Fedora. Honestly, I never have. It always populated decent time, but with DNF and the way it populates and things like that, it still bugs me. There, it finally popped up. I don't know how long I've been talking, trying to wait for this to pop up, but it finally popped up. And then, you know, let's say you wanted to just do something like Scribus, you click on it, and then you would come over here and install it. You'd get it from Fedora Linux, and it's coming from RPM, obviously. Click install, and it would install it on your system. Now, if you do install RPM Fusion, you will find this will have applications listed that are in Fusion, and then when you go over here, this will say RPM Fusion as opposed to RPM. So let's go ahead and close out of that, and we will go ahead and come back down here. And there's your text editor, Rhythm Box. We've seen how to install software. And really, it's pretty much, in my opinion, same old with the Fedora project. You get a solid operating system that just seems to work. I don't want to sound like I'm trying to be blasé about it, but Fedora has been rock solid for a long time. Other than DNF and the slowdowns that you get with DNF, I can't complain about it. About 4 or 5 months ago, I used it as my daily driver. I did all my content creation on it. I did all my designing on it, and everything just went smooth. Updates, on the other hand, took a while. Installing applications sometimes took a while. But other than that, it's a solid project. It's a solid distribution. It's a solid OS. I mean, if you're looking for the Gnome 43 and you want something solid, Fedora 37 is definitely the way to go with it. What do you think about it? Is Fedora something that you're already running, or is it something that you might finally download, throw on a USB, and take for a test drive? Let me know in the comments below. Please do me a favor before you leave today. Please like, subscribe, or follow my channel. The more likes I get keeps me in YouTube's algorithm, which means the information you just saw in this video, if it was helpful to you, it can be helpful to somebody else. And subscribe. Doesn't cost anything. And if you end up not liking me, you can always unsubscribe. If you like the channel and enjoy the videos that we are producing, we are on 3 separate platforms: YouTube, Utreon, and Odyssey. And you can become members on all 3. On YouTube, it's only 99 cents. On Utreon, it's $2.99. And on Odyssey, it's $4. You can also buy us a cup of coffee, maybe go over to PayPal and throw us a donation, or go to Patreon and become a patron to the channel. All those links will be in the description below. As always, thank you so much for watching my video, and I will see you in the next video.